Hey there, I'm glad you're here. We are going to discuss function transformations in detail today. I may do a two-part video depending on how long this video is, but either way, hang in there. We are going to definitely start with function translations. But before we get started, I do want to go over what a parent function is. So think of the parent functions as families, okay? Families of functions. And when you have families of functions, they have similar characteristics, just like a parent and a child, and even siblings, but they do look different. However, you can tell that they are in the same family. So let's go over some of the most common parent functions that there are. Keep in mind that this is not an exhaustive list, but this is a pretty good list to get you started. So first we have linear functions. These are literally just lines. So they're going to look something like this. And they're going to be in the format of y equals mx plus b. A quadratic or a polynomial function is going to be in the format, this is standard form, y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Now, depending on if you have a polynomial, you might have ax to the, fourth, bx cubed, cx squared, I mean, you can have all of that, but essentially it's going to look something like this. Again, this particular example is about a quadratic. And these are going to be the curvy ones. Okay, so this is going to be, this particular function will be a squared function like this, looks like a bowl. But you might also have a polynomial function that will be maybe an odd degree that will look something like this. Okay, now our absolute value, the way that I remember that is that value has a v in it. So this is going to be y equals a times x minus h, the absolute value of x minus h, plus k. And this is going to look like a v. Now, the square and cube root functions, these actually look fairly similar, but we're going to have y equals, and it's really the same thing, the square root of x minus h plus k. And these are going to look like this. We're going to have a little offshoot. We saw an example of that in a previous video where I was going over some domain and range, which I can go ahead and link that too, so you guys can take a look at that if you need it. And then the cube root function is going to look something like this. Okay. Now, a rational function, this is going to be in the format of y equals 1 over x minus h plus k. And here, this is going to be the general format of our graph. Now, all of these graphs, it would be good to go ahead and at least become familiar with them, memorize them. You guys will notice here that there are some similarities here between all of our functions. And actually, this can have an A on top. I'll go ahead and write that in there. And we have H's in them, we have K's in them. So it would definitely be a good idea to go ahead and become familiar with these. So again, we are going to discuss translations first, and then we'll discuss actually transforming the graph as far as the stretches and compressions and the shape of the graph. So let's get started with the translations. So an easy way to remember what a translation is that translation has an SL in there, and that just means that we are going to slide the function. Okay, when we are sliding the function, it's going to look something like this. We're not going to change the shape. We're literally just going to move it either up, down, over, around. But what we're not going to do is affect the size of it. Okay, now this means that our graph is not in this case going to get wider or skinnier. We are literally just going to move it around. These are the translations that we're going to go over right now. But don't worry, we will add to it and it will get harder, but for now we're just going to focus on moving the graph itself. Now let's discuss how to identify a translation from the equation itself. This is the vertex form of a quadratic function. Sorry, let's try that again. Okay, of a quadratic function. And the translation is going to be found here for h and here for k. H is going to be a horizontal translation. That means left to right. K, if there's a number there, this is going to be a vertical translation, which just means up or down. So let's go through an example so I can show you how this will work in real time. Let's say we have this transformed graph of our quadratic function. We have a 5 here, and we have a -3 out here. That means that a 5 is going to contribute to the amount of units the graph is going to shift either left or right, and this value out here is going to be a shift up or down. Now let's discuss how to tell which one is which. You can see that in the formula here includes a negative. That means that we cannot use this negative to determine if the graph is going to go left or right. We only have to look at this 5. And this 5 is positive, which means that we are going to go to the right 5. Now, outside of the function, this is just a plus k. So this whole value, -3, this means that we are going to go down 3. So now let's sketch the graph and see actually what this looks like. So I'm going to draw or sketch out our parent function. Okay, this is our parent function, y equals x squared. Not exact, but it's close enough. What we're going to do is take this graph and we are going to move it to the right 5 units and down 3 units. So let's use our vertex as kind of the anchor point to determine how far we're going to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then from there, we're going to go down 3. 1, 2, 3. So now our graph, our shifted graph, will look like this. Now, you might ask, how did I know to start with the quadratic function looking like I did in the beginning, where it looked something like this? Well, this graph has the same characteristics as the one that I wrote above. It has the parentheses, it has the x, it has the squared, and it also has two values here. So this would be the parent function. This would be the child function, the baby function. Now let's look at a different example. We have y equals negative the absolute value x plus 3. We did not discuss what a negative means, but if there is a negative outside of our grouping symbols, like we have here as our absolute value, this is going to be a reflection about the x-axis. So this particular function is an absolute value function. So we can go to our absolute value parent function here, and we can go ahead and apply our translations. Since we are going to reflect this about the x-axis, our graph is going to go from looking like this to looking like this. So let's go ahead and apply that transformation. So we started with our pink function. I went ahead and drew the transformed reflected graph in orange. And now, if you remember, we have a negative actually built into the formula. This is going to be our parent function here. Since our negative is built into the formula, we have a positive 3 here, which means that there was a -3, and that's going to be a shift to the left 3 units. So we'll take our transformed function here and go 1, 2, 3 units over, and now our final graph is going to look like this. An easy reminder, an easy way to remember this is that if you have a number inside of grouping symbols, whether it is absolute value or if it's parentheses, it's opposite of what you think. So in this case, positive 3 would make you think to go right. It's not, it's actually left. Now, we addressed what a vertical reflection is, but what happens if we have a negative inside of our grouping symbols in front of our x? This is actually going to be a reflection about the y-axis. So, as I've mentioned, if this number is a positive inside of the grouping symbols, this shift is actually going to be to the left 4 units. This out here is going to be up 3 units, and this would be a reflection about the y axis. Okay, so I'll just put like this y. So let's go ahead and sketch what this graph is going to look like. Our parent function here is going to go ahead and be the quadratic function. So we can sketch in our original parabola. And I've said this many times, but it does not have to be perfect unless you are actually asked to graph it, in which case you can look at either a calculator and look at a table of values, or you can plug in points. But for our sake here, I'm just going to go ahead and sketch it. So this is our parent function here. What I'm going to do is, again, take our vertex and kind of use it as an anchor point to go left 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, up 3, 1, 2, 3. So this is going to be our transformed function. So our vertex here, which is the point at which it's the minimum point on our parabola, would be at -4, +3. If I were to reflect that around our y-axis, essentially make a mirror image, where that is going to end up is going to be at +4, +3. Okay, so somewhere over here. Now, let's go ahead and show you what that will look like. Okay, so we are going to simply flip our graph over here across our y-axis. So we went from here and we're just making a mirror image of it over here. So this is going to be our final function transformed. So it definitely looks like we're going to need to do a part 2 for this. Let's go ahead and click on that video to see the stretches and compressions next. This video is going to go over how the shape of the graph can change. So for instance, it will look something like this, and it may look skinnier or it may look wider based on the transformation. I hope that you enjoyed part 1. Make sure that you go ahead and click subscribe, and let me know in the comments if you'd like to see any other types of these problems worked out. I'll be happy to do that, or if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thanks for being here.